Welcome to Reagan and Friends, a podcast series hosted by the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute. Each month we will share some behind-the-scenes moments and stories of President Reagan with some of his more famous friends. In this week's podcast, we present Frank Sinatra, an American singer, actor, and producer who was one of the most popular and influential musical artists of the 20th century. In fact, he is one of the best-selling music artists of all time, having sold more than 150 million records worldwide. But did you know that Frank Sinatra almost died the day he was born? The doctor had trouble getting the huge 13.5-pound baby out of his tiny mother, a woman less than 5 feet tall. Using forceps, the doctor tugged away, ripping and scarring the baby's ear, cheek, and neck, and puncturing his eardrum. And the baby wasn't breathing, so his grandmother Rose, an experienced midwife, grabbed him from the doctor and held him under cold running water until he gasped his first breath and cried out. Francis Albert Sinatra entered the world fighting for his life, and he won. Frank Sinatra and Ronald Reagan became friends during Ronald Reagan's Hollywood years, and they remained good friends until Frank Sinatra's passing in 1998. Frank Sinatra, like Ronald Reagan, started out early in life supporting the Democratic Party, but in the early 1970s he switched his allegiance to the Republican Party and even endorsed Ronald Reagan for his second term as California governor. Sometime in the 70s, Frank Sinatra gifted this game set to Ronald and Nancy Reagan for Christmas. Games include backgammon, dominoes, Scrabble, darts, chess, checkers, and more. The game set remained at President and Mrs. Reagan's house until Mrs. Reagan's death, when the game set was donated to the Reagan Foundation. When we opened the game box, it even still had their most recent scorecard. In July of 1978, Governor Reagan joined Dean Martin for a roast of Frank Sinatra, joking why Frank Sinatra would become a good president of the United States.
I'm here out of gratitude. Frank worked for me in all my campaigns. He was with me all the way to the governor's mansion. Without his help, who knows? I might have been president.
And then, in the 1980 presidential election, Sinatra supported Ronald Reagan, even donating $4 million to his campaign. He referred to Ronald Reagan as the proper man to be the President of the United States. When Ronald Reagan was elected president, Frank Sinatra arranged his presidential gala. In 1985, President Reagan awarded Frank Sinatra the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is an award bestowed by the President of the United States to recognize people who have made an especially meritorious contribution to the security or national interests of the United States, world peace, cultural, or other significant public or private endeavors. During the ceremony, President Reagan remarked,
"For nearly 50 years, Americans have been putting their dreams away and letting one man take their place in our hearts. Singer, actor, humanitarian, patron of art, and mentor of artists, Francis Albert Sinatra, and his impact on America's popular culture are without peer. His love of country, his generosity toward those less fortunate, his distinctive art, and his winning and passionate persona make him one of our most remarkable and distinguished Americans, and one who truly did it his way."
Also in 1985, an all-star tribute to Ronald Dutch Reagan was held in Burbank, California. Frank Sinatra was the evening's MC. During his thank you remarks, President Reagan said,
Thank you. And Frank, old Blue Eyes, as always, you've been the perfect host. Your voice rings just as pure and clear as ever for all of us guys and dolls who are still young at heart.
When Frank Sinatra passed away in 1998, President and Mrs. Reagan issued a statement which said, "Today the sound of heaven's chorus is a little brighter and more beautiful as our dear friend Frank Sinatra joins its ranks." The statement went on to say, "Frank's golden gift made him a Hollywood icon. He sang about real people and real emotions. His songs and music transcend age and time." Thank you for watching.
Don't forget that when you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you'll be notified every time new videos and podcasts are added to our site, including our Reagan and Friends, Words to Live By, and Reagan Forum podcasts. And don't forget to follow @Ronald Reagan on Facebook and Twitter, as well as @Reagan Foundation on Instagram and YouTube.